With nukes thankfully being nerfed again, you may have some questions as to what else you can do with heavy. Well, let me give you some ideas with a simple tips and tricks video. We all know C4 is an explosive gadget that can be stuck onto objects and terrain, which, after a 2-second arming time, can be remotely detonated, damaging yourself and others in the area. But, did you know that the distance you throw your C4 changes based off of your character's velocity? From standing still, I threw it around 12 meters. However, when I ran and jumped while throwing, it went around 25 meters. That is an increase of approximately 13 meters. Another tip is that you can melee your C4 after throwing it to do damage to enemies near you. This technique can be much more effective if you are close enough to your target. When you melee the C4 while it is inside or slightly behind the player you are trying to kill, the enemy's body blocks the damage and leaves you unscathed. Against light characters, the C4 melee only negates all damage if you are crouching beside them. This makes attempting to negate the damage extremely impractical and difficult to do, but it is still possible. The goo gun has some strange interactions with barricades, the first of which I learned from Akazo, an informative YouTuber. His channel is in the description. With this tech, you can break a hole in the floor without using any explosives. First, you place a goo ball on the ground. Next, you place a barricade to fall onto the location you want a hole on. Break the placed goo, stand on the barricade, and shoot a goo. While playing around with this tech, I found it to be slightly inconsistent and working around 60% of the time. The second goo tech I discovered while testing barricade and goo interactions. You place a goo, then place a barricade on top of the goo. Shoot a goo at the top middle of the barricade you placed, then put another barricade on top of the goo you just shot. Break the bottom goo, and after a second, the top barricade should start levitating. This levitating barricade acts like any other barricade, stopping bullets and absorbing damage, except that it doesn't stop projectiles like C4, grenades, and goo.
Charge deployed.
Goo is able to hit the barricade if shot low enough. This weird interaction has very little practical use in the game due to its long setup time. However, I was able to find one. By using this on a lower floor of a building, the barricade levitates up and acts as a regular barricade, except that you can shoot goo through it. This may be useful for goo locking anyone attempting to enter.
Preparing explosives.
My last two tips are simple and practical. The first of which is that you can melee enemies while holding up your mesh shield. The final tip is that you can place down a barricade after using mesh shield extremely quickly by switching to barricade immediately after using mesh. This is extremely useful for when your mesh shield is about to break.
Barricade deployed.
And that's the end of the video. If you liked the video, subscribe and like, or don't. I don't know, do whatever you want. Bye!